All right, hello, and welcome to another Expert Insight interview. My name is Jon Groth from Sales Pop, online sales magazine, and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from San Diego. And today, I'm delighted to be joined by Jon Groth, who is in Wisconsin right now, northern Wisconsin.
Northern Wisconsin, the very tippy top of Wisconsin. So a little bit different than San Diego, sadly, or maybe not so sadly, I guess. It's 70 degrees and beautiful. It's great here right now. Don't ask me about the weather in January. Then you'll beat us every day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Although people here, like my wife, will complain that it's cold. But what can you do?
Well, yeah. You haven't seen cold until you've been to northern Wisconsin.
Exactly, yeah. So Jon is a personal injury litigation attorney at Groth Law Firm in Samster, Cankel, and Saffron Law Offices, a division of Groth Law Firm. And what we're going to talk about today is selling your service. And I think this is a great subject, Jon, because I think when there's a lot of people now, we have talked about the Great Resignation and all of that. There's a lot of people who are trying to kind of go out on their own or be management consultants or, set up their own attorney practice or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And then for the first time, like kind of selling a service that may be it's tangible, but somewhat intangible too. And that's always where there's a bit of a struggle when people start to go and try and sell a service that especially one that maybe isn't slightly intangible, is that they don't really know how to package the value of it or how to communicate the value of it or what the person is getting.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think selling a service and selling your experience, I think that's the big deal, right? Is what you're selling is exactly what you've been through and how you can use that life experience to help your customer. That's something that we do every single day is we're talking to people who are having life-changing events, something that
Mm-hmm.
They may have been involved in a car crash where, I can tell you real life experiences of just clients who've lost arms, for example, and they'll
Mm-hmm.
never, ever be able to get back to where they were before. And what do you sell? We're selling our experience to hopefully alleviate some of that stress, hopefully to alleviate some of the questions. So the uncertainty doesn't lead to inactivity and then nothing happens and they wait too long. And then because they don't know that you can't wait too long, you've
Mm-hmm.
lost the right to recover. Those things are what you're selling. You're selling our life experience, our combined knowledge so we can help people out.
Mm-hmm. And obviously a crucial part of that is you're selling trust too, right?
Yes.
That's the most important part. Yeah. So how do you go about establishing that trust?
Well, really with us, it's getting to know the person, getting to know who your client is, who your customer is right away. So understanding where they're coming from and really knowing when to stop talking and when to start listening, which is right away. So asking questions, the open-ended questions, and just letting somebody talk and understand what their particular situation is. And once you have a general idea, then you establish that trust by saying, I understand that you've gone through this. Let me tell you how I would deal with that and how I will help you in the future because of my experience. So you're able to identify with the person, empathize to some extent, and then explain to them how you will directly assist their situation, their exact set of facts.
Yeah, because I think when obviously you know this better than me in the law context, but I think when you're selling a service is the person, everybody comes to it feeling that they have a kind of unique issue, right? Even when they're not unique. So you have to kind of help. I mean, you have to make them feel like you're really understanding what their particular situation is, even if you've come across it 100 times before.
Yeah. Oh, I think 100% that you can say, hey, this is what I know will happen with this situation. That the other side, in our world, there's always two sides. There's the victim side and then the insurance side or the at-fault side. And I know from my experience that they're going to try to do X, Y, and Z. And many times before the client or the prospective client tells us something, I will say, well, the insurance company may try to have you sign
Mhm.
a medical authorization, and that'll allow them to get medical records from the day you were born until now. And this happened just a couple of weeks ago, where the prospective client said, well, you're right. And in fact, they asked for all of our medical records in the very beginning, where they don't have the right to do that. And so that's something that we can show, okay, we understand their exact situation. We know from our experience that the other side, the at-fault insurance, is going to try to do certain things. And we can really show them that what we're telling them is going to be helpful, because we understand what the other side is already trying to do.
Mhm.
So,
And obviously, as part of that uh, is that is the communication part, because obviously when somebody's in a situation like that, they can often feel alone, or and they don't know what to do. So proactive, even when they may have engaged with somebody such as yourself, they still maybe are like, "Oh, what's going on?" and all of this.
yeah,
So proactive and communication is obviously critical in a situation like that too.
I agree. I think that's where this kind of video, um, what what we do is we have a text and an email that goes out, and this is with pipeline sales, with other
Hmm.
CRMs. That what you can do is create a system in place that has communication immediately to the prospective client, to the prospective customer, to say, this is who we are, this is what we do. And you can do that with the written words, certainly, and
Hmm.
PDFs and flyers and newsletters, but also, we use condensed links, like a Bitly link that
Yeah.
has a video to our website. So then it's a video of me saying, my name is
Mhm.
Jon Groth. I'm a personal injury attorney. This is what I do. These are just general facts that I'll tell you that may relate to your case, or things like that. And this is the process. This is the timeline. And I say all those things right away, so hopefully they'll understand that we are there for them, and it's not just some word on a screen, but it's a real life person. It's me in Wisconsin going to help them, even though we may only ever meet electronically or virtually, I should say. But you're able to create that connection and the communication. We also have a system that our main telephone line is also textable, so they can send
Right.
SMSs or texts to us. And I say, please text us 24 hours a day, because you may wake up in the middle of the night and have a question. We're not going to be around. Hopefully, I'll be asleep at midnight, but you will have the ability to just text us and say, "Hey, Growth, what do you think about X, Y, and Z?" Or, I just remembered there was a witness to this accident, and her name or she gave me the card, and her name is whatever. But that's the continued conversation, so they know that right when we get back in the office at 8 in the morning, somebody will respond and say thank you, and you can continue to work for them.
Yeah, no, I think that's so. I think that's so important, because I think people were feeling pre-pandemic even that a lot of things were getting so impersonal, and they were getting pushed even more and more away from whatever organization or company they were dealing with. So I think, and the pandemic obviously accentuated that. So I think there's a real thirst for the connection, and obviously when you're selling a service, if you're a small company or you're a person on your own, but at the end of the day, you're really selling yourself. I mean, you really are the product at the end of the day. So that whole, as you said, sending the video and that making those personal connections is so critical, because if you're the product, then they need to see the product.
Oh, certainly. And the continued time, I guess the continued virtual FaceTime, or the video FaceTime, I think is important, because in our world, there's an attorney around every corner, and a lot of
Yeah.
things you're selling, there are competitors that are always popping up, and they're going to be there. As long as you have your brand and you understand what somebody's going through, and you're able to help them through the process, and you're working together, I I trust that we're going to be able to do right by our clients, and they're going to understand that it is something that we take personally, and having that connection is important. That are not going to go to somebody else the next time, because sadly, people get in multiple car accidents, and or have other questions that they have, and they may have a question about drafting a will. Well, I'm not going to do that, but I have people that I trust. I will then refer
Hmm.
them to. So we have those continued connections.
Yeah. Well, we used to say back in Ireland that if you threw a rock out a window, you'd hit a short story writer. I think in the US, if you throw a rock out the window, you'll hit an attorney.
There's just so many billboards. It's TV ads everywhere. I don't know what's going to happen in 10, 20 years, but it's a lot different than when I started 22 years ago. It's a much different
So,
world. And I'm sure people will say that about 20 years before that it's constantly changing. You just have to adapt.
yeah. So how do you make sure that you stand out in a crowded market like this?
How do we stand out? That's a great question. And I think it's number one, technology.
Hmm.
Sadly, there are a lot of, uh, I guess, competitors that are doing things that are just unnecessary. Meaning, um, uh, there there's so many things you can use technology to help the customer experience.
Yeah.
So with our texting and our emailing and our videos and all of that, we have a podcast, we have all these different ways that we can stand out, that we can just simply show that, okay, what I say to clients is listen to our podcast. I know that you have a situation involving a Uber. Let's say a Uber struck the rear of your vehicle and now your vehicle is damaged and you're injured. Well, we just did a podcast about that. Listen to it because you'll understand then that we understand what you're going through. This is something that we have
Hmm.
combined knowledge where my staff and I are discussing these situations, and it really, I think, helps us to explain who we are and that we can really have some added benefit to everybody's case because of what we know. So I think that's how you stand out, is by using technology and showing our knowledge to prospective clients, because you can go to a billboard and then from a billboard go to somebody's website and it might look good, but do you know anything beyond? And that's what we're trying to show, is that watch our videos, um, watch our we have some different videos on podcasts and things like that that really have us talking to an audience and getting a
Right.
sense of who we are as people.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Yeah, because I think if you go, to be honest, to a lot of law companies and websites, they look like they were designed in the late 90s, maybe revamped in the early 2000s, but beyond that, not that much. And I think you're right. There's a lot of them who aren't leveraging technology and help for people, because let's face it, when you start to engage in an attorney, you always think, oh my goodness, everything I do now is going to cost me money, right? I'm going to pick up the phone, it's
Sure.
going to cost me, I'm going to do this. So when you're saying, like, here's lots of help for you, you're kind of like bucking that trend a little bit, because you're saying, here's some information, here's some stuff you do. It's not going to cost you anything to actually learn a little before you even engage.
Yeah. No, I tell that to people all the time. You can probably do this on your own. It might take you a
Mm-hmm.
lot longer, and you're going to have some stress because you're not going to know, well, if I say this, what will happen? You could research it, and Google will probably tell you a pretty accurate answer. But that's where I will gladly share that information. But the value that we add is that you can entrust us with the case and know that we're going to have a strategy in place and we're going to do what's right, and know that if we say this, something else might happen in the future, and we're going to do things that are only going to benefit your case and keep you informed along the way. So things like that. I think that's something that I can't think of all the wiser people than myself who have given things away, and there's a benefit to that. If you give
Mm-hmm.
things away, you are going to receive in the end.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think again, it's part of that trust building process. So if you were advising somebody who maybe they're in a big law firm right now, whatever, and they think, okay, I want to go out on my own, or I want to build my own small practice. I want to join the Great Resignation, and I want to live in a cabin in Wisconsin. What would your advice be to them? How to start it properly?
How to start it properly? My advice: have a really good banker. Make friends with bankers. I think you need to join organizations that are not only attorney organizations, but like your Chamber of Commerce and those organizations, so you can meet people who are also small business people and understand what a startup is. And I would, to be honest, start, I guess, a podcast, I'll call it, or start some kind of recording and create content online that you start today. You know, what's the saying? And the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. And just start that content online, because when you get going and your firm is going, you have to have that digital footprint now. And if you start now, in 10, 20 years, it's going to be life-changing for you, because you're really going to have a lot there that Google, Yahoo, or whomever is around is going to be able to acknowledge and identify you as one of the, hopefully one of the top minds in your industry. So those things, banker, Chamber of Commerce, and do a recording, start a blog, a video blog, or something like that.
And obviously in these kind of businesses and service businesses generally, is that referrals are obviously a critical piece. So building a good network of people who can you refer business to, and you can refer business to them, is obviously another critical piece.
Joining the Chamber of Commerce, where you're going to meet people who are, if you're doing transactional work, you'll meet people who are maybe in need of something, and they'll give you a chance. And if you do good work, you're going to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so tell me, what are some of the feedbacks that you get from your clients when they say to you, "Oh wow, this is a different experience than I was expecting," or this is better than I've had previously"? What are some of the things that they highlight? Well,
I think one of the things that we're seeing is the ease of information. It's one thing when you're, you expect certain communication in certain ways to get an Uber, when they come by, and hey, the Uber is going to be here in 5 minutes, and you have the instant gratification, the instant knowledge, and you expect certain things when you're going to a play, for example, and you have your digital tickets, and there are reminders. Well, you have to. Don't forget to go in this door. Don't forget to go in that door. Those kind of things. I think it's different when you're hiring an attorney or hiring a professional. You don't expect to see kind of some guidance as to what the process is going to be. It's probably a lot of it's intimidating. You're not quite sure what's going to happen and what these people will expect of you. So having that initial understanding, have the information shared in multiple different ways, I think is something that people have said, that's really helpful. Thank you. And that's probably the biggest thing I hear is right away in the beginning, thank you for this information. We send emails and newsletters, texts, and the videos. So right away, if they have a timeline and kind of a roadmap as to what's going to happen. And that's really, we get a number of reviews online from people who are right away in the beginning of the process, which I think is unusual. And I think it's a good thing, because they see, oh, this is going to be easy. Hopefully, it's what happened to them is not good and it's a bad situation. But if we can make the whole process easier from the get-go, and hopefully that's going to maintain throughout the entire process, that's I think the biggest thing that I see, the biggest positive aspect of the practice in selling our service, is that they know right away and they're helped right away.
Yeah, and I think that's fantastic, because I do think often when people engage with, it's stressful when you're obviously they're in a stressful situation, then engaging with attorneys can be stressful, not really understanding. I mean, most, lay people, you're a personal injury lawyer. Yeah, maybe I kind of understand what that is, but maybe I don't. Maybe so sometimes you don't, maybe you're even talking to the wrong type of lawyer to begin with, So
Oh, sure.
anything you can do to educate and make that person feel comfortable. I'm not surprised if all the stuff you do, I'm not surprised that you get reviews early in the process, because I'm sure it is a surprise to a lot of people saying, wow, this is not what I was expecting from an attorney.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, again, leveraging technology, like you said, that's a great way to put it. Leveraging technology, because it's just a matter of helping people with information. The more you know, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Jon, this has been great. All of Jon's information is going to be below this video. But before we go, Jon, do please tell people a little bit more about you and your company.
Great, thanks. Yeah, we're a personal injury firm based in Wisconsin. We have really an international practice, I'd like to say, because we have attorneys in our firm that do vaccine injuries, which you can help clients from all over the world for flu vaccines and things like that. And then we also help people who are involved in like mass tort situations, if you had taken Zantac, for example, or other bad drugs. But a large part of our practice are car accidents, semi-truck accidents, and other matters where somebody's injured because of somebody else's negligence in Wisconsin. Our website is growthlawfirm.com, GROTH lawfirm.com. Our number is 414-999-0000. Easy to remember, and you can text it. Text and call, or text or call that 414-999-0000.
Yeah, and I love that, by the way. I love the fact that you can text your direct, your office number as well as call it, because there's nothing more frustrating than trying to text a number that doesn't take text.
I know, yeah. Yeah, that was a big deal. We had to get that right away. We had to implement that. That was one of the first things, because that's so frustrating. Because people now, you'll be on your cell phone and you'll have like an automatic response that I'm busy or I'm in the car, I'm driving. So it's nice for us to know that when we called somebody and they respond via text, that we know that there's that communication again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, thanks again, Jon. There's some great insights there for any of you in a service business, for any of you in a law practice or thinking of setting up one. Fantastic insights. Thank you for watching and listening. Thank you again, Jon, and I'll see you all again soon.